break, because we have more 3 sections in the afternoon. Okay. And okay, I'll start now. Because we will further the seminar and move to the next 3 sections. To begin with our third group under the topic Translanguaging versus English as a medium of instructions, navigating language choices in Thai English language teaching. So this topic explores the debate between using English exclusively as the medium of instruction and embracing translanguaging, focusing on language acquisition, student engagement, and educational outcomes in Thai English language teaching context. It also explores the cultural implication and challenges of promoting one language over others. So, if you guys are ready, next, let's move forward to our third group. Please welcome them.
So, welcome to the afternoon sessions, and this is the first topic for this afternoon. And this one is quite very interesting, especially for me, because I'm very keen on translanguaging. But before we start with this, could you please introduce yourselves and also explain us a little bit what is translanguaging and what is EMI, please?
Okay, to begin with, I am Ahmad Shomram. I'm a 4th-year student in English major.
My name is Subakima Ming.
And good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yasir Chele, or you can call me Sip.
My name is Hassan Hunakson, but you can call me Hans.
Yeah, good afternoon. You can call me Don.
And my name is Akarapun Arikit. You can call me Anis.
Tell us a little bit about translanguaging and EMI.
So, let's begin with me first. I will use the definition from Mr. Dearden papers. He defines EMI as the use of English in the countries where the language of the majority or population in that area is not English. And about translanguaging, it is the learning environment where the teacher allows students to use their full linguistic repertoire to learn or to clarify the matters or the subject in their classroom.
And can you classify or explain more? Is there any differences between code mixing and code switching? Is that code switching is similar or different from translanguaging?
I would like to say that there are some similar terms between code mixing and translanguaging.
How?
First of all, I would like you guys to imagine that you have a box, and that box contains a language. Suppose it is Thai, right? And if you are bilingual, you have 2 boxes, right? One is Thai and one is English. And the code switching is when you pick up the language, the vocabulary from the box, right? You pick up from Thai, you pick up from English, and translanguaging is go beyond that. It's like a concept that you have only one box, and in this box it contains every language, every vocabulary that you know, or every linguistic repertoire that you have. Linguistic repertoire refer to the linguistic knowledge that you collected through your life. Yeah.
And I will add more from his statement that I have chance to talk with my professor Ajahn Yusuf. He tell us that both code mixing and code switching is under the umbrella of the translanguaging. Yes.
Okay, so what are the benefits of translanguaging in terms of language use?
Okay, in terms of language use or implementation in the classroom, translanguaging allows students to access their full of mind in terms of linguistic repertoire. It means that we allow them to access all the knowledge in both their home language and their target language, and there can benefit their academic field which can master them in both languages as well.
Everything has its pros and cons. Are there any arguments against translanguaging?
Yeah, of course. According to the study that we have found, like some students which is higher proficiency in English or have enough efficiency in English skill, they don't prefer or favor learning in translanguaging. They might go toward the EMI or English as a medium instruction as using only English in the classroom. And this is might foster them to enhance their vocabulary, their confidence, and giving the environment of English language usage in the classroom.
So from your understanding, is quite very impressed. And I would ask you, like, is there any opportunities to use, when is a good opportunity to use translanguaging in English language learning classroom, like in English language classroom? When, in your opinion? Or when to use EMI? Which one is better?
Or how much Thai should be allowed in an English class? As a teacher, as a future teacher, right? How much Thai would you allow your student to use in an English class? To what extent is use of Thai is acceptable?
Okay, for me, I think it depends on the context of the contents we teach. Like in some subject that is more complicated than others, like grammatical that require critical thinking. I think the translanguaging will be more beneficial to students since they need comprehensible. Right? But in subjects like listening or conversations, maybe EMI may be more appropriate then, because we need to build an environment that can foster give them opportunity to speak in English.
How about others?
Yeah,
Would you like to support your friend?
Beside context and subject, I think student ability is also play a crucial role in choosing translanguaging or EMI. Because in Assumption University research, it shows that they divided students into two groups. The first group, dependent manner, and the second group, independent manner. Dependent manner is student who cannot speak English on their own. They have to ask teacher for help in speaking English. So this group of students is more suitable in using translanguaging in classroom. But for independent group, they can speak English fully, or they can speak English as near as native speaker. So I think this group is suitable in using EMI in classroom, because if we use translanguage in classroom with independent manner, student would be less motivated and be bored. Yes.
Okay, so to sum up from your responses, so using translanguaging or EMI is depends on the course, the nature of the course, like listening, communicatives, or like grammar courses of English, something like that.
As well as students' proficiency.
And also, yes, student proficiencies. And as a teachers, basically, Dan Chao still asking you like, to what extent that the teacher, how much should be taught in Thai or in English. So like percentage. Let's talk about in percentage. Like which one?
Yeah, you may talk about practicality as well, right? As a future English teacher, okay. Do you consider translanguaging practical in English language teaching in Thailand, where classes, consist of students with mixed abilities?
Yes, because
because you cannot choose students to be in your own class, right? So students who come to your class may come from diverse language backgrounds. Some are highly proficient, some are not as proficient as others. So what is your account on this? Is it practical? To what extent this concept is practical in Thailand's ELT?
First of all, I will tell that the majority of Thai students like to be in their comfort zone. Their lack of confidence to speak out, to learn a new language. So the translanguaging allow the teacher to at the engagement and comprehends of the students. As my friend said that for the basic lesson like speaking course or listening course, if we have chance to make it in EMI or 100% in English, yes, you can do. But if it is come to the complex lesson like grammatical or even linguistic, it is better to use the mother tongue of the student to explain the concept to them.
You say like the teachers are allowed to use L1 in case to explain more about the complex content. But what if the way the teacher use English just to translate in Thai? Maybe student might just focus only Thai concept, the concept that explained in Thai only, and then they might ignore what the teacher have taught in English. So is it still practical? Yes, please.
From my own experience as once as a learner and still, learners, I personally found that what is more important is to try to help our students to understand what they are learning. So in that case, we try to, like in my case, for example, from the course of culture course, for example, I try once use EMI, and what happened is that culture shock was happening in the class. And majority of the students in the class just withdraw from my class because
they're shocked
because they haven't experienced before using English 100% in the class. And later on, I realized that okay, in that case, I have to adjust my teaching, style strategy based on learners. So during my first class, I try to understand student needs. I try to to learn more about their English background proficiency first, and then I can find not the best way, but the most suitable way, the most appropriate way for my learners based on their linguistic backgrounds. So that's what I learned from my experience. And another issue based on your questions I found is that, so like in my case, for example, I have learned so many things since I was a child that comparing to the standard English, is completely wrong regarding grammar, regarding what I learned. And then, however, even though I many times that I try to when I speak my English, for example, I use wrong or incorrect grammar, but my interlocutors still understand what I'm trying to say, and later I figure out myself that I have been using this sentence for ages, but it's incorrect, and at the end of my my journey, I myself, correct my own English. So in that case, I think trying to help or trying to support or help our students to understand the concept of the learning first, and then in the future, they themselves may learn themselves, might figure out themselves, might experience themselves, okay, what they have learned in the class, what they have been using for ages, might be in or correct in that case. They can, may or may not, correct themselves.
But do you think that using translanguaging practice in English language classroom is the way that limit exposures of English for students?
What do you think? Because some teachers, some educators argue that we should, promote English as much as we can when it comes to
That's wonderfully. You can
practice.
count me on that point of view.
Yeah.
Yes, because like I myself that I do research about translanguaging, when I have strong
Right.
point that I still believe in EMI.
Yeah, while others argues that if you promote 100% English, you fall into the trap of monolingual bias. So what's your account on this? What's your view on this?
Yes, translanguaging can be limit student exposure in English. Like when we give a task to student and we let them brainstorm the ideas, they're gonna use Thai when they communicate together and get the idea. But it also can benefit because when you pick student to present and we force student to only speak in English, but it's kind of when we have to interact, sometimes maybe teacher have to find a way for students to brainstorm in English more. Maybe teacher have to go to see if they speak English or not.
You mean teacher should try for students to increase, to promote or to support their students to use more English in the classroom, but at the same time, we are not able to aware that some students may feel demotivated if they, learn English like using EMI, for example. I mean, again, as a teacher. No matter translating or AMI, so in that case, so it's not about ELT teaching, translating or English medium instruction, but it's about how we are going to support our learner to reach their goals.
Okay, I think we have a great points about this. So let me ask you one more questions because like some of you don't speak Thai as a first language, but you speak Malay, Malayu. Is it by Patani Malayu? Is it? I still confusing about this. So you use that as a first language, and if you if you are the teachers in the future, will you allow the student to use whatever language in the English classroom or not, and why?
In translanguaging context, I think I allow to some part. For example, when teaching translanguaging, I think it's better for students to brainstorm in the language they prefer or they are good at, because sometimes using only language they cannot fully express their idea. So I think in a brainstorming, they can use the language they prefer or their mother tongue. But when presentation, I think using language is the best because the objective of the class is to enhance our English speaking skill. Yes.
Let me add on. As a person who was born and used the first language as Malay language, and the second language for my second language is Thai, and then I learned my third language is English. So I have multilingual in my multilingual in my yes. So based on my experience, I learned two of these types or two of this approach in my lifetime. When I was in primary school or prathom school, teacher often use translanguaging more than EMI because they know that the students they don't have enough proficiency to understand the content that much. But when I grew up in the high school, some teacher he was trying to use only English in the classroom, and the result was shown that my friends and including me was afraid to use English because we have less vocabulary, we have fewer vocabulary or phrases, so that it makes the engagement doesn't have a lot in the classroom. Yeah.
So, and from your experience, have you ever used your L1 like Patani Malayu in the class to learn English together with Thai?
Yes. We learn both languages when learning target language.
So you use both Malayu and Thai in English class. Oh, okay, interesting. Because like
I used to teach my friends what I have understand about the lesson. I teach them in my language, in our shared language, such as Malay language.
Okay.
So how would you educate your students to be aware of these two concepts? I mean, students might get confused why in some classes they are instructed to use English only, right? Why the instructor uses English only, and in some other classes teachers use a mix of languages in class. How would you educate your students to get to know these two principles?
From my perspective, I think we as a teacher we should explain our lesson plan first at the first class. If the section is about the grammar or the complex lesson, we allow them to use their home languages. But for the conversation or listening class sections, we just only use EMI. So for me, I kind of combine both strategy in my class.
There is a concern regarding ELT translating pedagogy that some educators, policy makers, curriculum designer, or even lecturers that using. I mean, you keep teaching using translating pedagogy in the classroom. It might decrease the English language proficiency of learners. So, yeah, to what extent do you agree or disagree about this particular notion?
For me, in my opinion, I think I partly disagree because if we're talking realistically, even if we're using translanguaging may reduce their proficiency, but if the result is they're losing their motivation to their interest in learning English, then that objective, that goal that we teachers are aiming for will be wasted.
Yes, so typically encouraging students to learn the language is much more important than how we're going to use it, how we're going to teach our students.
Yeah, that is my perspective.
Yes.
question to ask about your opinion. At my department, it is an international program. So as Ajahn Yusuf told us that in his class, many students were shocked and withdraw from the class because he purely used English. Okay. Differently, I think your students and my students are in the same input levels. But I think because they are aware of themselves, I mean my students, they are aware of themselves that they are in an international program. So even they are low proficient in English, they need to be patient in the class using pure English. So they are not shocked when the teacher use pure English.
They might shock, but they have no choice.
Because that their choice. That their choice. Yeah.
Because it is what they have chosen, right? It is what they have
Yeah.
chosen.
Because
I think because they choose already to study in the international program, but in this case, like your case, like it's an English program, but it can be taught in Thai.
Yeah, in my case, it's not happened only once.
Uh-huh.
Once, 2 or 3 times, every academic year. During my first, but actually, it is a very, I consider it's one of the best way to, like a strategy, to withdraw.
Yeah.
To decrease numbers of my students in class.
I do have the same experience of yours because like I taught the first year students and the course is effective communication, reading and writing. And then I taught everything in English at the very beginning of the class and I kept speaking in English. I don't care whether they understand or not. I thought because like I do believe if they choose to study in English majors, it means that they are encouraged in some way and also they are forced in some way to be able to understand in English. So I think this is of course because like the cons have two sides, there's pro and cons. So some of them get anxious, get worry, whatever negative feeling when they learn.
Regarding your case, I mean, if I were in your case, for example, if they are English major students, yes, I am totally agree about what you have been doing, using 100% English medium instruction in the class.
Yeah.
But what if they are just first year?
Yes, they are first year.
The first year.
Yes.
Amazing.
Because like they are because I quite myself I do believe that because Thai students we don't have much opportunities to use English outside classroom. So classroom is particular certain environment that allow them to use English. Whatever they wrong, like speaking wrongly or not, but they have to speak in English. So classroom is the only one place that they can use
So
English.
you don't want them to waste their opportunities to use
No,
English.
no,
right?
I don't want to. So that's why
I don't think it's about wasting the opportunity because
it's not wasting, but they have few opportunities in their life.
the point is that if the end of their journey, their language proficiency is still high. So it's not about how we teach our learners, right?
No. Yes, maybe right. So let's go back to the stage. So which one do you prefer? So which one do you think that because like
Which principle do you side with?
Yes.
Based on the contamination, because you mentioned that students are diverse.
Yes, students are diverse.
Particular methods
No.
not fixed. I mean, from my experience.
Yes.
In some particular circumstances, using translating is much more practical.
It is some way.
EMI is also very practical.
Yeah, back to Ajahn Vilay, one question.
Yes. Oh yes, so you still have the question.
I haven't finished my question yet. Okay. I would like to share you with this scenario, which is an actual scenario in our university. So
in our classes, teacher use 100% of English, but we have a varieties of students from diverse cultures. Malaysian students, Cambodian students, Chinese students, Thai students, and among Thai students, there are both Pattani Malayu students and Thai, the upper southern Thai students. So in the class, sure, the lecturer give or deliver the lecture in English. And we have a varieties of proficiencies of students. But when they need to discuss or share the idea, translanguaging appears in the class. The students use EMI, right? But in the class, when there is an excellent student, they explain the confusing issue concept to the Malaysian friends. So they use she or he use Malay, and turning back to the Thai southern Thai student. So he or she use Thai, and speaking to the Muwalat, Muwalat means Thai students who are born and grown up in Saudi Arabia. So only English and Arabic they can understand. So translanguaging environments happen in the class. So what is your idea in this to this environment or into this scenario?
I think in that case, the English as lingua franca is the appropriate method that can describe your scenario, since they are come for learn English, as my professor said, and there have to be patience in learning English. And due to this scenario, I will ask the question to you back. What will you do if some of your students are not understand the complex concept that cannot be described in the in Thai language or any particular language? It have to be only described in English. What will you do to clarify to them?
You mean some of them or all of them?
I mean some of them.
Some of them don't understand complex concepts. So, firstly, I will not explain the concept to them, but I will just the rest of class who can understand this concept, try their best to explain their classmates into any language they can understand. For what? Because I think at this period it is content-based. So, they are exercising their cognitive, and at the same time, they are practicing using a variety of language. But at the end, when they have got understanding of the concept, they need to share their understanding into the class in English. So English is at the final step. But during the process, any languages can be done, can be allowed in the class. So it is international program.
So it means that even it is international program, it doesn't mean that it is EMI totally. So it's like other languages can be employed to use in class to make sure that the student understand.
And the nature of the course is content based as
yes,
well.
Yes,
right?
I think so because
content has to be
because
prioritized over language skills. But at the end, you should be able to deliver it in English.
Yeah.
Like in my class, there were 12 students. We were two friends from 12 countries. We speak different mother tongues. We use varieties of languages. Yes, when we discuss. Yes.
You will end up with the end of the English.
Yes, but if they are from the same countries, they will not use.
That's totally. Somebody who is.
They will use the language. They will
มันต้องมีคนฉลาดกว่าตัว
Yes, we go back to this point. So I quite agree with Ajahn Sharp in the way that whether to use either translanguaging or EMI, it depends on the natures of the course. Like in the content base, of course, you agree with us that it should be, if the content base, it should be translanguaging, like use any languages to, yes, to understand. But for communicative English, like reading, especially speaking and listening, it should be English only to provide more exposures. Would you like to add more? Like,
Yeah, I have another factors of using translanguaging or EMI to consider because we are going to be a teacher in the future, right? Another factors of choosing between both strategy, right? It is their age, the children ages. I think if the children is in the primary, it would be better if the teacher teach them with EMI strategy because there's a theory that support the idea of learning the new languages in the younger children. So from my perspective, I think if the teacher can teach EMI to the primary or kindergarten student, it will be better.
that makes sense.
I have a concrete evidence. If you guys search on TikTok, Kru Wat, he is a teacher that teach English. Yeah, in the hill tribe, right? Bundoi, and
Yeah, I think this case, my friend also mentioned about this case.
What is the reason? What is the reason why kids adopt target language more effectively than adult learners?
There's a theory that called neuroscientific theory that compare the student brains with have more plastic, which means more adaptable or more flexible.
Yeah.
So during this age, the student brains can develop the cognitive features. So I think that is the main reason why children can
you're
learn
right.
better.
So it is what we call, it is the hypothesis called critical period hypothesis, right?
CP.
So once we reach puberty period, then we tend to have, our brains tends to have a process called lateralization. And after biological lateralization, we tend to, associate learnings to different parts of the brain, and language learning is gradually dominated in the right hemisphere of the brain. So adults tend to usually one side of the brain to learn language compared to children who use both sides of the hemisphere jointly, and this increases learning. And that's why you can see that children, young kids can pick up the language more easily than adults. They can even mimic native speaker, accent more naturally than adults. Okay. Thank you for your support
I
for mentioning this.
have one of my students. He is I think he's just like 6 or 7 years old, and then he watched YouTube, like YouTube Kids at a very young age. And now I would say, I talked to his parents that the first language of his is not Thai, is English, and he's struggling to speak Thai, but he quite comfortable to speak English. That because he picked up the language at a very young age. Yeah, I think you make a good point. Yeah.
Sorry, can you explain more?
Simplify it.
Make sure that you simplify it. Make sure that you simplify.
EMI is very suitable for those, primary students like already young age, right?
Yeah.
Where you have more opportunity to develop their language, English better, right? Does that mean that, we are not able to we are not able to deny that in Thailand, it doesn't mean that everyone will be able to use EMI, right? And doesn't mean that every English teacher will be able to use EMI in the classroom. So in that case, it that mean that those primary, let's say, okay, or young students, for example, young learners, if they are not able to or have no opportunity to learn English by using AMI, are they going to lack their chances or opportunity to develop their English proficiency?
Okay. Yeah, there is actually one more factor that I think will contribute to selecting both of this approach, but I didn't have opportunity to tell them. I think one more factor is that it is motivations. If we remember, we learned apply linguistics last semester, right? And yeah, there are the motivations. There are 4 kinds of motivations in learning second language, which if I remember correctly, they are intrinsic, integrative, resultative, and instrumental. And yeah, this will affect the students whether they will choose. If they are interested, saying, for instance, if they want to become part of the cultures, then they will want to, even if they don't have opportunities, like what you said, that it has potential, right? They will seek on their own. In the,
Thank you for your clarification, and thank you for suggesting,
May I answer your questions directly? Okay, because I'm not sure he answered your question or not. Yeah. sorry. But thank you for the suggestion. Yeah.
for giving us some suggestions.
Yeah.
Regarding some factors. Some very practical
Yeah.
factors which teaching method shall we use in our classroom. Okay, and now I'm listening for you.
So the question is, what if the younger students or the younger learners doesn't have opportunity enough using EMI in the very young age, and then it means that they have less opportunity of having proficiency in English, right?
Yeah.
So I think yes. My answer is yes, because in terms of proficiency, even though they are was learning in EMI in the young age or not, they can accomplish the proficiency in English. But the accent or the native, like the accents, they would not be like the standard accents. For example, if they are beyond the puberty age, it's hard for them to acquire the accents like native one. But if they're learning at a very young age, they can catch up or they can acquire the accent, the phrase or the structures more easily. But yeah, like an.
But the end goal is not to develop a the native speaker likeness, right? Because the native speaker likeness does not equate to being competent in language use. Sorry, I have to disagree, because I believe in the fact that practice makes perfect. Okay, even though we are not sufficiently exposed to the target language before puberty, we still have the opportunity to become proficient in language if we practice enough, if we get enough.
I do not believe that practice makes perfect.
Why not?
Give me any reason. Give me any reasons.
From my own experience.
Yes.
I mean, from my own experience, and from my personal and from my personal perspective.
Only your own perspective. Okay.
I don't. How do we define perfect? To me, perfect doesn't exist at all. And another, because it's still like when we're talking about perfect, different people might define perfect in different ways. But one thing that I believe is that practice makes better.
Yes. Interesting. You have your own point. Okay, you have your own point. I would add more about the translanguaging. we have to, as a teachers, like your guy will be the teacher in the future, so we have to think more, like not only the practice that we use, we have to choose the one that's suitable for our learners. And the thing that we have to be very considerable in the way that how to make it maintain, how to maintain their proficiency. Like sustainability is not only environment, but it also refers to sustainabilities of English language learning as well. How will we manage, maintain, remain what they have learned in the class and have opportunity to practice in the class and outside the class? Yes.
This time they have many media, right? Like for example, in online we can watch YouTube or maybe the video chat like Omegle or TV. We can chat with strangers from different countries and we can practice using English, or maybe with friends in the same room, like in the same major, we can use English too.
So moreover, I will share that in Thailand, in the education, the factor that's important, very plays important roles in learning some particular subject is the curriculum. If the stakeholder, all the stakeholders who write the curriculum are allowed to all people, including teachers or maybe professor who write the curriculum, if we make, the understanding between these or those stakeholders in education system, it should be, rely on the students' proficiency or competence, because even though we cannot fix or we cannot do anything with curriculum, but as a mini size of teacher like us can design our classroom environment. So that is what as we can do in our classroom to maintain English learning. Yes.
It's more suitable for the high proficiency speaker because they know many words, right? They have wide vocabularies, so they're gonna have some words that they don't know, and they will use the translanguaging to be the tool to help them learn more, to insert more of the.
I would ask because I quite like your ideas. Let's say it's like if in the future, if you are like the policy maker, what would you do? What will you do about this concept? It's quite big. Yes, like because like we know we in yes.
Okay, for me, I think it doesn't matter if it really matters if you have power, but at the end of the day, we have to perform more studies and find enough proof that in which cases, which approach works better, and try to promote in every channel as possible.
Can I add more?
Yeah.
But for me, I think I wouldn't like strict on one mainstream, because one side doesn't fit on, as you said. I would like the teacher to create their own curriculum based on their students, their context, right? Such as in the three provinces. The teacher might create their own curriculum that integrate Malay, Thai, and English in the same class. Right? For example, something like that.
So how English should be based on their own context?
Yeah, based on the student.
Including
Yeah.
materials, teaching strategies,
Yeah.
should be, I mean, localization should be integrated in ERT policy. Is that what you want to say?
Anyone would like to add more?
I don't want to add more, but I have question to you both. As we are the undergraduate students, so we can ask you as professor. Do you think are there any chances that both EMI and Translanguaging combine together and make a new pedagogies to teach English language in the future?
That is very challenging questions. To my perspective, no, because it's from different
Schools of
thought. Yes. Translanguaging is from the school that support multilingualism in the societies. English is supports kind of like teaching English like second language acquisition school. So it's totally different school of thought, as Saab says, and it's quite difficult to mix it all together. And I think, but I have something to be aware of or to be concerned in the way to use translanguaging. It depends on, as we say, how much L1 should be used in the classroom. Because like, I think I have say somewhere, translanguaging or L1 should be used in English class only not more than 30%. But I don't have any research to support it yet. And I think this will be another topic for you to write the paper. Like how many percent of Thai or L1 should be taught English classroom?
Yeah. I mean, based on your question.
Yes.
I have just respond yes. I mean, it may be difficult to combine these two together and build up a new pedagogy of ELT. But one thing that I can share based on my own experience that like during my first class, after I have learned that most of my students were shocked when I try to use English in a particular class. So later I changed the way I teach my students, right? Okay, I try to learn more, try to understand them more first. Okay, and after that, okay, if my students, if their English proficiency are very low, for example, okay, I'm aware that I may not be able to use English 100%. I may not be able to use EMI. So I try to maybe 50% EMI and another 50% translanguaging, allow them to be themselves.
But
the language that they prefer freely.
yes, as to add on this, because like we can't use translanguaging anytime because like translanguaging is the concept to support bilingual or multilingual that have balanced proficiencies of both languages or those languages. But if your student have high L1 and low L2, it's impossible to balance the way to use L1 and L2 in the class. So this is the concept of translanguaging. Okay, they are allowed to use it. Teachers are allowed to use whatever languages, but the level of the use is very important. The balance of use it and also the proficiency of both language. But because like, as you said at the beginning, that translanguaging is just the one box that contains many languages. But in Thai situation, like in Thai society, I would say you separate the box. You still separate the box. So it's quite take time that both of you will be like how to say, like bilingual. So, and for EMI is another concept to how to say is like to teach or provide students with target language. So they use target language in the class. So it's impossible to me to bring it together in the class.
At the beginning, I tried to mix between translanguaging and EMI. And later, when I realized that my student, their English proficiency is getting better, so then I tried to use less translanguaging and focus more on EMI. Until the end of the day, I totally use EMI. And in that case, in that case, students, they were not shocked, they're not demotivated, they're learning, and they feel even changing their perception to the language from negative to positive.
And one thing that I would like to add more, because I'll be talking about the focus on the students as well, but as a teacher, then you are the teacher in the future. Translanguaging is not the way to translate what you have taught in English and then to translate in Thai. But some lecturer still misconcept about this.
You use L1 as a resource.
Yes,
right?
yes, and
it's not
then
a translation method.
And my research shows that the findings from my research show that some students that have high or like media proficiency is still they less, how to say, they less motivated because like they are not forced to use their English proficiency.
Before we end this session, okay, as we have having debate a lot regarding these two concepts, and based on Thailand context, for example, look at the practicality. It's very difficult for every English teacher to use English medium instruction.
It is.
Even most teachers, we normally use L1, like a Thai, as the medium of teaching English. So in that case, what do you think of using L1? In your classroom.
Will you use L1 in your English classroom?
If you are going to teach your student grammar class, it's going to be very complicated for them if you explain everything in English, or even you yourself might not feel comfortable to explain grammar complicated issues by using EMI. So in that case, do you think using L1 like a Thai language as a medium of instruction in English class, practical, not practical, appropriate, inappropriate? Yes.
Okay. From my own experience, I was the student who learned with TMI. The teacher teach English with 100% Thai. We learn grammar with Thai, for example. This is pratana. This is kariyana. Yeah, and at the end of the day, I can still understand the structure of English. So I think it doesn't matter because I could understand. I achieved the goal.
So based on what you said, doesn't matter which teaching pedagogy, EMI, Translanguaging, or L1, as long as you are able to reaching your learning goal.
In terms of grammar, but in terms of conversation or speaking skill, we have to use EMI.
Yeah, for my personal preference, I would prefer to be taught if it is if I'm in a class, grammar lesson class, right? So I prefer to be taught using Thai as a medium because I want to understand the concept first. I want to understand the structure first. But wait, I'll go back and practice myself and I'll put it in English later on. But I need to be able to understand the concept clearly first before putting it in English, right? So learning the instruction is different from practice, okay? I prefer to get practices in English, but I prefer to learn instructions using Thai as a medium. That's my personal preference. Yes, because we have learned Thai as our first language. We cannot get rid of our mother tongue. It's part of, the way we learn the language. whether language, we always compare it to Thai, the Thai language, our mother tongue. That's why Thai keeps influencing the way we learn a foreign language. That's how we learn. Yes, good.
Louis, you have time? Louis, you have
One minute, only 1 minute.
Okay, the thing is that in different, when I experience myself, sometimes it depends on how the environment you have been teaching. It happened to be you. Never mind, my voice I think clear and loud enough. I believe that if you were taught in English since you were young and you get used to using English, so you have no doubt and no difficulty in dealing or expressing yourself in English. That's no problem. But the thing is, when it comes to, the one that we talked just now and discussed that it happened to be when you were young, you're not exposed to that English that much. Okay, that's the thing. Your teacher is not, like talk to you in English, speak to you in English, communicate in English. That's the thing. So later, that's why we are who we are now. So I think to me, it's very crucial for us to have a teacher who can speak, who can teach you in English. Since you are primary school, if you like to have, like generation like you in university level who can communicate and express yourself in English in excellent, so you should have that type of thing since you were a small kid. Why not? Thank you.
Thank you for this group.
I think if we have like the whole afternoon, we still discuss about these topics. Yes, thank you very
Thank you
much
very
for
much.
your insight information. Yeah, thank you.
I think you have some questions from the floor, right?
Oh yes.
Okay. They ask you, okay, in order.
Is it acceptable, right? Is it acceptable for students to use? Is it too suitable to use? I mean, for teachers or for students to use code, for students to use code mixing, code switching in English class outside, inside classroom.
So I would say that it depends on the design of the lesson in that classroom of the teacher. So since the definitions of the translating is, it will happen in the multilingual classroom, right? So if it is be in this condition that it is multilingual, both code switching and code mixing is under the umbrella of translanguaging. So it is cannot separate. Yes, it's called translanguaging.
Yeah.
I want to add more there.
To add on.
Okay.
Okay.
That.
Yeah, to add on, if we look at in reality, of course, inside the classroom and outside the classroom, we tend to use both languages in terms of code switching or code mixing in order to deliver what we want to, the message that we want to deliver to one another, right? So I think it's also appropriate whether inside of the classroom or outside of the classroom to use code switching or code mixing.
Okay, one more main factor that is suitable or not. It depends on the interlocutor who you are talking with. If they are your friends, right, you can speak like code mixing and they still understand you. But if you're talking with a foreigner, they cannot understand the Thai, right? If you're switching between English and Thai.
Using code switching or code mixing, you need to make sure that your interlocutor is sharing the same culture.
Yes.
And it depends on the formality level as well, right? If you talk to someone who is from the parliament, right, code mixing is not appropriate. Okay.
One more question. Is there any strategy to implement BMI for complex course to be practical?
Using EMI in the complex
course.
we have already covered this point, right? At the end of the day, everything is contextualized. Right? It's you to decide which approach works best for your students, because no researchers, no scholars know the nature of your students better than yourself, right? So it's you to decide.
I hold on, just a moment. I just like to emphasize Ajahn Chap's statement that as you are the teacher in the future and you teach English, remember that there is no fixed anything. It is conceptualized. Think about your students. Think about the content, your lessons, and think about yourself. And also the goal of the course, like where it will be end of the course, and what is the learning outcome of the course is very important.
Based on what you have just responded, one question just came up in my mind when you said, be aware of yourself, be aware of your student. What about if our student, okay, we would like our class to be AMI, but when we think of ourselves, I'm not able to use AMI in class. So it's been like that. Yes, you are contradicting your student needs. In that case, what will you do? Just the last question. No, it can be happen, right? You try to use Thai in your class, and then one your student said, teacher, we want English only in the class, so please use English only. And then when you go back to your dorm, what will you do?
I want to share my own experience because I have faced this problem. Last semester I taught in Saathit. Yeah, can I mention the school name? Okay, and while I teaching, I use the Translanguaging. You know, I try to explain more about the concept for some people who doesn't understand. And there's that student, he raised his hand and talked to me. Teacher, this is English class. Please use English. Yeah. So I say, okay, I use English after that. From now on, yeah.
I mean, in the case if you are able to use English, it's fine. But it doesn't mean that every English teacher
Can speak English, right?
high English proficiency
Yeah.
using English as a medium.
They should quit their jobs. Right?
That is just touch my heart, but I'm afraid that my answer will be harsh. But I think the same thing. If you will be the English teacher, you are supposed to be able to speak English fluently. Fluently, not native like proficiency, fluently. Because like you have to use English as your own language, as my English. So this is the point. So if you can't speak English, quit the job, find another job and work for it. Yes.
Okay, so thank you very much for your thought-provoking section. Okay, we have learned so many things about translanguaging and EMI from your session. Again, these two concepts are still debatable.
Yeah, it's still.
So thank you very much, and hope you will be able to find out the most suitable way how you're going to teach your English, how you're going to run your English class with your students in the future. So thank you very much again for your.
Yes.
Thank you very
because
much.
like I would take this time to say goodbye to you because like I have another mission for my family, and then I'm very happy to be join and share the things that actually I would prefer to listen more, but I couldn't. So thank you very much for having me today, and then I would say maybe in the future we will meet again and say hi to me. And I wish that because like Thailand still and in need to have the Thai English teachers at the very young age, like primary school. Is sometime in the future, if someone who are not in English major, please voice your position that they are not allowed to teach English if you are not educated in English major. Because English is not Thai. Even I am Thai, I speak Thai, I couldn't teach Thai. So it's just like English. If you're not studying English and you are not shape yourself to be English teacher. Don't teach them.
Okay. So,
Yes.
by the way, as the organizer team, okay, so thank you very much for
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Yes, thank you very much.
We are glad that you are here today. Thank you very much, teacher Amy. Okay. Take a photo. Okay, to sum up, while they are taking a picture, okay, to sum up translanguaging versus English as a medium of instruction, the speakers have discussed at the debate between using only English in school and allowing students to use multiple languages. This affects language learning, student engagement, and educational success in Thailand. Participants also discussed the cultural issue that arise from favoring one language over others and the challenges that involved.